welcome to the daily vlog on Unsung Heroes. My coffee cup for the day was a gift. You can see that it's got African scenes on it. It's from South Africa, and a friend of mine, James Diddy Sr., who's gone on to be with the Lord, was a missionary in that land and gave that gift to me. Well, it's good to see you today as we study about unsung heroes. Today I want to talk about Caleb. Now, we do hear Caleb's name, but he really doesn't get the attention, say, that Joshua did. But Caleb is a real unsung hero. He's one of the most faithful and courageous men that you might find in the Bible. Like I say, his name doesn't come up as often as others. So that's why I'm counting him as an unsung hero. He helped to conquer the promised land. In Numbers 13, it tells us that Moses sent out 12 spies when they first came to the promised land. They sent out 12 spies into Canaan to explore for Israel whether they could go in or not, whether they could take the land as God had promised or not. Well, the 12 spies were chosen from every tribe. Caleb was one of them, and he represented the tribe of Judah. Judah's always, known, the lion is their symbol, and the fighters. So the spies were tasked with surveying the land, yes. They were to assess the strengths, the weaknesses of the inhabitants there. And after 40 days, the spies returned, but they had a mixed report. 10 spies reported that the land was filled with giants and fortified cities and caused the people of Israel to be afraid. That's what they did. But 2 of them, Caleb and Joshua, saw things differently. Sometimes the giants in our lives look too big to conquer, but God always equips us. If He's called us, we will overcome. And Caleb and Joshua felt that way. They had bold faith. In Numbers 13, while the other spies saw the challenges, Caleb firmly believed in what God had said would be accomplished. He said, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." That was Caleb's idea. He didn't deny the difficulty now, but he trusted God's promise more than the opposition. He believed that God had given them the land and nothing would stop that plan because that's what God had said, and Caleb just believed that. He had confidence, and it was rooted in the fact that he had a deep trust in God's faithfulness, not man's ability, but God's faithfulness. Faith doesn't ignore challenges. It acknowledges them. But at the same time, there's still a trust that God is greater. The people didn't accept what Joshua and Caleb said, and they were left to wander in the wilderness for 40 years. So unfortunately, those people that were afraid for their children, they were going to wander for 40 years, die off, and their children would be the ones to get the blessing. The 10 spies report caused the people to rebel then, so the consequences were difficult. Despite the rebellion, though, Joshua and Caleb remained very faithful. They were only 2 men from their older generation that actually got to go into the promised land because of their faithfulness. God promised Caleb that he would inherit the land because of his faithfulness and because of his wholehearted devotion. In Numbers 14:24, it says, "But because my servant Caleb has a different spirit and follows me wholeheartedly, I will bring him into the land he went to, and his descendants will inherit it." Even in the midst of waiting, we can trust God's promises that He will reward your faithfulness. So Caleb, at age 85, claimed that promise. In Joshua 14, we find that after 40 years of wandering, the time came for Israel to come in and conquer the land. And Caleb was 85 years old, and he came to Joshua and reminded him of what God had promised. He said, "Now then, just as the Lord promised, he has kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said this to Moses, while Israel moved about in the wilderness. So here I am today, 85 years old. I am still as strong today as the day Moses sent me out." So, 85-year-old Caleb there in the mountain regions of Hebron, a place inhabited by the Anakites, the giants in the land, the descendants of the giants of the land that were in the land of Israel, that the spies were afraid of. He believed that with God's help, he could drive those giants out and claim that land. And guess what? Caleb did it. He drove the giants out of the land. He took Hebron. He took the region around there. So there's a lesson in that for us. Faith doesn't retire. It grows stronger with age and with experience. God honors the faithful no matter how old they might be. So there's a legacy from Caleb for us, this unsung hero. He was an illustration of trust. He was an illustration of patience also. He faced fear, doubt, and even time, but he never wavered in his belief that God's promises are true. He served as a model of perseverance in the face of challenges. He didn't just claim the land for himself, he claimed a future for his descendants as well. And Caleb's faith is a living testimony to the power of God in the midst of difficulty in our lives. Well, there's also another thing here of the thing about age. What promises are you waiting for? Trusting in God's timing. Remember that God's promises are worth waiting for. Caleb was faithful in the wilderness. God honored him, gave him a bold victory in his old age. His life reminds us that faithfulness is not measured by our circumstances. It's also not measured by the number of years we have. Whether young or old, God has a plan for your life, a plan that is filled with hope and victory. Hopefully this is an encouragement to you today. Like, share, subscribe this YouTube channel. Also go to timsearcyministries.com. God bless you. Have a good day.